Hey everybody, and welcome back to the very first episode for 2019. We are the Imagineers Disney Podcast. I am your host, Matt, and I am joined once again, as always, by my co-host, Susie.
Oh my gosh, Matt, we haven't done a podcast since last year.
Oh my god. Oh, the jokes. So funny. So funny. Love it.
I thought so, but I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I will be much better here in a couple days when I will be hopping in the car and heading down to, you guessed it, Walt Disney World.
Disney World, what?
Yep.
Nice.
I'll be down there for a few days at our annual travel agent retreat that our company has.
Ooh,
So
that should be a fun time. Bunch of Disney experts
Yep.
putting the big guns all together.
Yep. Some people are arriving on Saturday night, so a bunch of us are going to be meeting up, and then the retreat itself kicks off on Sunday and goes through Thursday. So we're going to have a
Very nice.
great time. So if you see 100 people walking around in the same shirt, you'll know that's us. So if you're in the Magic Kingdom on
That's a really good way to identify people, matching
Yes.
shirts. So
for sure. So
yeah, say hi.
love for you to say hello. So, but yeah, I'll be posting a lot on Instagram. So go follow me on Instagram. My personal Instagram handle is Travelmation. That's travel and animation put together. So travel, then N-A-T-I-O-N. Travelmation_Matt. So I'll be posting some stuff throughout the week. But I'd love for you to follow along on Instagram and check out all the stuff. I'm sure we'll be having lots of food.
Oh yeah,
Other
y'all know
things.
all the good spots.
All the fun spots. So yes.
Yum. Now, as a travel agent, we're actually going to use your some frequently asked questions
Yes.
tonight that you get. I'm glad you brought up the retreat because I think I can use one of my world famous transitions to say, some of the common questions that you get asked most about Disney.
Yeah, that is a good topic to start the year off, I think, especially if you know maybe you're new to the parks, or you haven't been there in a long time. I just talked to somebody today who hasn't been since they were like a kid, and that was like 20 years ago, and the parks have changed so much. So I mean,
And even in the last 3 or 4 years, they have changed drastically. I have a coworker who's going to be going here in a few weeks, and she's asking me a couple of questions today. And I mean, a few weeks meaning like by the end of January. And so the first thing I said was like, have you picked out your fast passes yet? No. How do I do that? And like they live in Florida, like they're from the area, and just not having been there in a while, it's totally different. Yeah, there's a lot of, if you're a Disney expert, you might take these things for granted, but it's kind of foreign if you're not used to it.
Yep, absolutely. So, what Susie and I have done, we have compiled a list of our most asked questions, and we're going to do our best to answer those. And hopefully, it is something maybe that you have questions about. And if it isn't, if we don't get to a question that you have, we would love to hear from you personally. So just either message us on Facebook. You can email me. My email is matt@travelmation.net. And so just shoot us your questions, and we'll be happy to answer those in the best way that we can. So I'm going to
Let's kick it off.
Yeah, let's kick it off. I'm going to let ladies first, as always.
Oh, thank you.
So Susie, what are some questions that people ask you all the time?
Well, we can just start off with what the question I asked my coworker today about FastPass, which brings up the wonderful world of My Disney Experience. So what is My Disney Experience? How does it work? So My Disney Experience is where you can plan your Disney experience, very appropriately named. But kind of think of it this way. Think of it as your guide map, your show, schedule, shopping, reservation, anything that you could do in person or at the park, you can go ahead and get done ahead of time, including the all-important planning of your fast passes. So you need to create an account, username, login, all that fun stuff. You connect your tickets to My Disney Experience, which is how you keep track of all the different members of your party. so you can plan your fast passes. You can also see maps of the park, wait times, make reservations, shopping. You can find restrooms. I said earlier about show times,
Baby
basically
care
everything,
shoes.
baby care, the first aid, really just anything you need is going to be on that app. Now you can access it from a desktop by going to the regular Disney website. There is the option on the desktop to make hotel reservations. That option is not on the app. So that's kind of the one thing that you're going to need to call or do online that you cannot do on the app. But that's kind of your one major thing that you have to have if you're going to Walt Disney World. If you see people just like walking around the park on their phones, maybe they are just terrible millennials, but they're probably looking up wait times or trying to get fast passes or a dining reservation. So My Disney Experience is huge. And if you want a planned to not really to the hour, but if you're just really trying to get it all together instead of just walking around the park, having a chill day, you've got to get My Disney Experience.
Yep, we live in a digital age, and it's vital that you add that app onto your smartphone. So it'll make your trip go a whole lot easier. I mean, technically, you don't have to have it.
You don't have to.
You're not required to have that to get into the park. You can have a physical ticket. You go in, and then you can go to some kiosk and actually select fast passes. But you're going to be doing that the day of. So you're going to have a better experience if you just go ahead and download that app.
I think that's kind of one of the big important things that people may have questions about is, how important it is. Yes, you don't have to have it, but again, there's so many different things that it does that it's going to be a great tool in your arsenal. How about you, Matt? You're the big expert, experienced with all the questions. What do you hear a lot?
I think we are equally experienced in the parks.
Yeah, but you have like a certification, so it's kind of a big deal.
Yes, I am a graduate of the Disney College of Knowledge. So, it's an actual thing, I promise. So, but no, it's fun. So, so I think maybe one of the questions I get the most is, what is the best time of year to go to Disney World? And I think with most of my questions tonight, I'm going to have a little caveat before I say that, before I give the answer, and it's going to be, well, that depends.
Yeah.
So, what is the best time of year to go to Disney, in my opinion? Well, it could mean there are a few factors that could play into that. Are you looking for the least crowded time of year? If that is your question, the parks are changing so much.
I was about to say, I know what you want to say.
There's almost no downtime anymore. Like there's no off season.
Yeah.
All the times that used to be off season and like, oh, this is the best time to go. Now people have caught on and they're going at that time. So,
and the pricing structure has changed that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just tricky.
So, I mean, one of the best times, crowd-wise, sometimes is the summer, and you wouldn't think that, but sometimes the crowds are very moderate during the summertime. It's just you got to weigh whether or not you want to go when it's hot. So, I mean, It gets super hot down here in Florida.
And which is a big deterrent.
Yes.
Which is
why the crowds are down.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious.
But, we have the heat index on some days get over 100 degrees. So, that's why it's important if you ever come down here on those days to stay hydrated, get your water. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this before. You can get free water at Disney. You just go to either the water fountains, or if you go to any quick service and you ask for a cup of water, they're going to give it to you.
And
you'll be good. So the summer is a time sometimes, but I would probably say that my favorite week of the year to go is actually the week that I'm about to get into. So there's a reason we have our retreat this week in January. It is the days, and this is actually flipped. So normally it is the week after the Walt Disney World Marathon
Hmm.
at the beginning of January, but they've actually flipped it this week, and it is actually the weekend of the week that we are there. So, but typically like January 6th, 7th, so you lose all of the big crowds from the Christmas holiday. Kids are going back to school on that Monday.
Ah,
Yeah,
sneaky.
yes. So crowds typically are normally a little lower than
Yeah.
average. So those are my favorite days to go. I mean, but then that could also mean, well, when's the most fun? I
Hmm.
think the festivals at Epcot are a great time. So Flower and Garden, Food and Wine Festival, Festival of the Arts, which is coming up
It's coming
here.
up. Yeah.
Yes. So Festival of the Holidays in Epcot. So in December. So it can mean a few things. So it just depends on, are you looking for entertainment value or crowd value? Like less crowded. So
That's a tricky thing to weigh. I would say just real quick, the last couple of years we've been going, and we've moved it up a little bit this year, is in April. So you've got Flower and Garden going on. It's warm enough to go to the pool, but it's not in the hundreds. But you're after spring break and still significantly enough before summer that I don't that like kid like you're not going to pull your kid out. You just had a vacation, so it's that sweet spot right in between. And it's normally pretty good for us then too. But your little trick about January
yeah,
is
yeah,
is you're just giving away all the secrets tonight.
yeah. That's hopefully that doesn't change, crowds or whatever. But I'm sure one day it will become one of the most crowded days of the year. So
Yeah, something will happen and
eventually,
they'll be like, we heard Matt say that it's too slow. So we have
I
to add another
doubt that will be the reason.
add
But
another festival. We're gonna open Galaxy's Edge 6 months early. No.
yeah, now you bring up a good point about Galaxy's Edge. So we're expecting that sometime, quote unquote, late fall. So we could be talking about December. So that beginning part of January next year may not be a good time to
Yeah,
go. So
that's a good point. Yeah, you just never know. There's so much going on. You've got to pay attention. Last, or not last year, it's been a few years ago, but one weekend was Veterans Day weekend, last weekend for Food and Wine, and Dapper Day weekend. And so if you're just a normal person coming down, you'd be like, what? So that's a good point. Always look and see what's on different calendars to see what's going on.
for sure. So what's your next question?
My next question is helpful because have you ever been somewhere and you have something in your bag you didn't know you couldn't have, or your bag was 2 inches too large, which has happened to me
Oh yeah, I
before?
was about to say it sounds like personal experience.
Yeah, that happened. I had to go back to the car, carry stuff in my pocket. Ugh. But which brings up, you need to know when you go to Disney what you can and cannot bring, not just in your bag, but like I said, the size of the bag. So before you go to Disney World, you need to know what you can and can't bring because otherwise you'll have to make that long, embarrassing walk back to the tram or back to your car to put it away.
The
So
walk of shame.
the walk of shame. By the way, this is at the bottom of the list, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. Selfie sticks. I have pointed them out to cast members before. I'm like, they're using a selfie stick just because it really bothers me that someone was sneaky enough to get that into security. I'm like, ugh. So, okay, no selfie sticks. Other prohibited things, recreational devices such as drones, remote control
Yes.
toys,
Uh-huh.
skateboard scooters, inline skates, shoes with built-in wheels. I don't think those are popular anymore, but do you remember
They used
like
to be. Yeah.
like 10, 12 years ago, like Heelys and all the different things? So if you're trying to bring the Heelys back, fine, good luck. Just don't do it at Disney. You cannot bring in your own alcoholic beverages, marijuana, or any other illegal substances. Strollers larger than 36 inches by 52 inches. Just 3 feet by 4 and almost a half feet, right?
Yes.
Math, 5 feet, 4.5. Oh, I have a college degree, guys. Suitcases, coolers, or backpacks with or without wheels, larger than 24 inches long, 15 inches wide, and 18 inches high. Basically, nothing huge. I brought in a carpet bag size thing a few years ago for Mary Poppins as my Disney Bound for Dapper Day, and I had to pay very close attention because, you know, carpet bag is big. You gotta make sure it stays within those sizes. Nothing trailer like that.
Let me just interject here. Why would you want to anyway? Do you really want to be lugging that around all day?
I did lug the carpet bag around, which I thought to myself, oh, we can just put everyone's stuff into my bag.
And then you have to carry
a ton. Oh my goodness. My hands were like old people, like wrinkled and like curled up by the end of the day. It was so heavy. That's the mistake I won't, like, I was pushing the limits, but I was definitely under it. Yeah, I definitely got the rheumatoid arthritis or whatever arthritis. Correct me. All right. No trailers or carts pulled by anything like a wheelchair or an electric vehicle or stroller. So that's pretty easy not to do. Weapons of any kind or anything that appears to be a weapon. So no toy guns, no squirt guns. I've seen someone get turned back before because of this, right when they instituted that rule. So just be mindful of anything that your kids have put into any type of bag for toys or anything like that, or you'll be walking them back. Folding chairs. We talk a lot about getting a good spot ahead of time for things, which you should. You just can't bring a folding chair, pop it up in the middle of Main Street and wait for happily ever after. Yeah, you can't do that. Selfie sticks or any handheld extension poles. Like, honestly, I should just wear like a t-shirt that is just like, I should be the selfie stick police. It's just everything crazy. Large tripods, glass containers. I want to stop on this one real quick because you can bring small glass containers for things like baby food or any special medication that can't be in something plastic. If it's in glass, that is fine. I've had to do that before, and security understands that. Like, they're not going to be like going, it's fine. Just the really small for those things. But any other glass containers, if you bring your own food into the park, which you can do, or your own drinks, just make sure you're putting them in a like a Rubbermaid or Tupperware, not a glass container.
So no mason jars of moonshine or you know.
Are you speaking from experience now?
No. I'm just Or mason jars full of, how about sweet tea? How about that? Mason jars.
Oh yeah, that sounds more like Central Florida. Well, I don't know, maybe the moonshine. Only animals you can bring in are service animals, no balloons or plastic straws in Animal Kingdom, and any other item they determine to be harmful or disruptive. So, general rule for life, when in doubt, don't.
I was about to say, when in doubt, just don't.
You know, anything that's like, do I really need this? Fill in the blank with thing that you're probably thinking about now that you just want to push the boundaries on. The answer is no, you probably don't. And by the way, also anything that you do have on your person, they will confiscate. They can put it up for you. You can get it at the end of the day. If unless it's like anthrax or something, then you're going to get arrested. Or if you have something that is too large to be brought into the park, you can put it in a locker up front. So there are a few slight things to accommodate, but again, for the most part, if it's on here, 99% of the time, you are not going to be able to bring it in. And some of these things, like 100%. I only say 99 because your little baby food glass jars are okay.
Yep, those are fine. One small addition I would like to add to that. So on the no weapons thing, so even if you are a concealed carry...
Yes, that's a good point.
Even if you have your license to conceal carry, Walt Disney World is a no weapon zone.
Yes, they reserve the right to not allow concealed carry.
So do not try to get a...
Yeah, don't be a smart aleck either. Just abide by the rules, guys. It's Disney. And if you're concerned about safety, don't be. Disney goes to extreme extents to keep their park safe. So don't pitch a fit because you can't bring, your pepper spray or your machete, okay, Crocodile Dundee, like calm down. It's going to be okay.
Yep, security is very good, and believe me, they are very thorough.
Yes, they are.
They went through our diaper bag,
Well,
every
they're looking
single
for big containers of baby food because
pocket,
you're supposed to have small containers of baby
every
food if
single
it's
pocket. I'm like,
glass.
oh my goodness, it's taking so long, but I didn't complain because I am thankful that security is in place to keep
Yes.
us safe as we are being entertained and having a good time with our friends and family. So,
All right. Hope we didn't step on too many toes there, but just
no,
abide by the rules.
yes, and everything will be fine.
All right. So that
Okay.
was a big list. We just had to get that out of the way. What else you got, Matt? Other questions?
Okay, so another question I get is the dining plan worth it? Well, that depends.
You're such a politician on these.
It depends, and you know it just depends on your family's food preferences. So if you are a big family and you do spend a lot of money like for food anyway in the parks, the dining plan would be a good idea for you. There's just something about the ease of knowing that I don't have to carry around any cash like for my meals because I've already paid for it and I just scan my magic band and it's done. So the ease does help with that. But I would say the quick service dining plan is great. There are lots of quick service options, but the regular Disney dining plan is also worth it if you do it correctly. So, and we've talked about this before. You just need to select dining locations that you get the most bang for your buck. So you're going to get that a lot with the buffets. So, so like places like Boma or Crystal Palace or Beer Garden or Akershus or something like that. Nice big buffets where you can it's all you can eat, and so you don't have to worry about that. They're not single serving stuff, and that's not knocking any of the other restaurants around Walt Disney World. Like I love 50's Primetime Cafe, but I don't think that is necessarily the best use of a single dining credit when you are at the park. So just use credits wisely, and that's what I'm here for. So if you have any questions, or I can, you can bounce some ideas off of me, and I can customize recommendations based on your food preferences. If you have any food allergies, and we've talked about this in the past as well. So the dining staff at all the Walt Disney World restaurants are phenomenal. They do a really good job with allergens and
Yes.
people who have dietary restrictions. So no need to worry about that as well. But yeah, so dining plan, absolutely worth it. Just got to use it the right way.
Very good. All right. What is transportation like at Disney? Well, that depends. Okay, but really that depends. So we talked a few weeks ago about going around and seeing all the different Christmas decorations at the resorts. Kind of gave y'all a little inside look at there's so many different ways to get places at Disney. I sometimes think it would be fun to like have a competition with your group and like divide up and like, okay, you guys, we're going to try to get to this park or this hotel. You take this way, you take this way. And like we see who gets there first, just because there's so many, you know what I mean? There's so many different ways around property.
Yeah.
I guess it's something you do if you're really bored at Disney. Like who does that? Anyway, so transportation is free. If you're staying on property, you have a lot of options to get to where you need to go, such as buses all over the place, all the parks, hotels, Disney Springs, water parks. There's also boats to various parks and resorts. Monorail, iconic. But if you are driving, then you drive to wherever you're going. You park. Magic Kingdom is different than the other resorts in that you can't really walk there, and you don't take a tram only. There is a tram to take in transportation, and then from there you make your decision. Do you want to go to the monorail or do you want to go on the ferry? So if you're trying to get somewhere, you can get there. Sometimes it's a little tricky just because sometimes you can't get to Disney Springs from a park, and that's because they don't want you to go to Disney Springs and then park for free and then travel for free somewhere. So sometimes you have to do a little bit of 6 degrees of separation, but most of the time it's really easy to get around. They tell you it takes about 30 minutes to get from your resort to the park. For the most part, that's true. Obviously, during busy times, it's going to take longer, or if there's an accident or weather permitting. But transportation at Disney is pretty easy, lots of options. And if you're somewhere and you don't know how to trace your steps back, a cast member can always help you. And I think it might be kind of a fun game for them too, to be like, okay, now where are you and how are you trying to get there? Is it a bus, a monorail, a boat, a tram? Or are you just going to hitchhike?
Typically, if you are staying at the resorts, the buses are going to be your fastest option in most cases. So, but say, for instance, you want to go from resort to resort,
that's a little tricky.
There are no direct buses from resort to resort. What you have to do, you have one of 2 options, well, 3 options. You can take a bus to one of the parks and then get off that bus and hop onto the bus that goes directly to the resort you're trying to get to. Mm-hmm. So that's one way of doing it. Then another option is to take a minivan.
Oh, yes. I was also going to mention the minivans. You're so cute. You can't miss them. They are vans painted like Minnie Mouse. It's pretty self-explanatory,
yes.
I guess.
So minivans and Uber are what I was going to suggest. Uber is obviously going to be a little bit cheaper than the minivan. But the minivan almost, I don't want to, and it's not a knock on Uber, because I do Uber all the time, but it gives you more of a sense of security. Okay, so this is a Disney company vehicle. Right. This is a cast member. They are going to take me from point A to point B. So that does help if you have any
Uber fears.
Uber fears.
If you don't have Uber, I don't have Uber. I've never needed an Uber.
So, but yeah, I've done it from resort to resort many times. So.
Well, there's also, then if we want to just talk briefly, because I said, if you're off property, then you drive there and you park. There are hotels that have transportation to the parks. They're partnered with Disney. So that's always very nice. Look and see if your resort has that option. You can Uber, like Matt said, and there are taxi options too. So there's a lot of different ways to get to where you need to go.
Yeah, and also keep in mind with those off-site hotels that do provide shuttles to the parks, be sure to look at their schedule, because their schedule could be different from one resort to the next. So they could only have one pickup time or just a couple pickup times. So just keep that in mind when you are staying off property and are traveling to the parks via the shuttle service provided by those hotels.
Cool.
Okay, so.
Oh. So speaking of transportation at Disney, if I want to go, I'm trying to get to your next question, and I thought I could do it, and now I'm embarrassed. I can't do it. Just go ahead. I thought I was going to try to transition to park hopping.
Park hopping, yes.
Yeah, park hopper option.
I got you.
But you know what? I'm going to make a New Year's resolution to make better transitions this year.
I got you.
Or at least prepare my transitions.
I follow you. So another question is, are park hoppers worth it? So once again, well, that depends. I think it depends on length of stay. So if you're there for if you're going to the park 8 days, I don't necessarily think you need park hoppers, because
you're just going to spend a whole day at a park. Yeah.
If you're there for 2 or 3 days, then I would actually recommend park hoppers. That way you can experience all the parks at your leisure, and you spend a few hours in one park, then go hop on a bus and go over to the next park, or monorail if you're going to Epcot. So from the Magic Kingdom. So yeah, once again, it's a case of it depends. It just depends on your length of stay, and that is just my opinion. But single park definitely works. If you are doing longer stays, shorter stays, I do park hoppers.
Hmm. Very nice. I remember before we had annual passes, and I remember getting the park hopper options. And our last day on that number of day ticket that we had, we went to all four parks. And I was like 13 or something, wiped out. My parents were like, let's go. We got to get our money's worth out of this park hopper option. And we did. Darn it. And hindsight, it's kind of a funny memory to, be dragging kids from one park to another when your parents are all hyped up, but definitely it was fun.
You have stress fractures in your ankles, but
Yeah. 50,000 steps.
So, but yes, that is my opinion on park hoppers.
All right. Let's see. I've got one more question, and this question is asked to me frequently by coworkers or people who I know but aren't like super close with, but like we're friends on Facebook close, and like you see them in real life and they ask me this question. And these two questions kind of go hand in hand because I know what they're trying to say. What they're saying is, well, why do you go to Disney so much and do the same thing? And aren't you too old for that? Because I'm like, no. And here's why. Yes, every time you ride Pirates of the Caribbean, it's the same thing. The guys are always in jail, and Jack Sparrow is always going to be drunk. And, the rides, they do change in that they bring in new things or we make modifications. But for the most part, the rides are the rides. That's not why we go so often. We go because even though you do the same ride maybe 3 months apart, each experience is so different. We've talked about fantastic cast members making a difference, delicious dining options that fit every budget, the resorts, the parades and entertainment. It's different every time, and you can always find something for someone you like. So if someone in your family is wanting to go to Disney, like, don't roll your eyes and be like, okay, I did that like 2 years ago, or ugh, that's such for kids. Like, obviously it's not, because we're grown adults here talking about it. I have people who kind of roll their eyes when they're like, okay, like you go to Disney, like go on a real vacation. You can't really put it into words until you go. And it's always, like I say, it's always different. It's always special. It's something that, even though my family, obviously we love each other, but we all have different things that we like, but we found one place that is accommodating to everything, and we can always find a middle ground and enjoy ourselves. So whether you have, 5 daughters all under the age of 10 and you're princessed out of your brain, like you can still go and have fun. Or if you're, in your mid-20s and you're single and you just want to go with your friends for a weekend, you can go and have an absolute blast. So like, don't knock it till you try it, or don't knock it until you try it more than once, because it's not going to be the exact same. That was just a soapbox.
Wow, Susie, that was really good. Oh, hit me in the feels.
I know. Well, it's not really like how do I, like, it's not a logistical question, but it's something that I get asked frequently. And people, the judging guys, when they're trying to be nice, they're like, oh yeah, you really like Disney, again? Don't you? Again? Like, look at those mouse ears. Like, stop it.
Whatever.
I like it. Yeah.
Let me live my life.
So, you don't know me.
This is a judgment-free zone, so we won't judge you for loving Disney.
No, I would hope not. It's kind of why we're here.
That is why we're here. So, okay, so we're going to try to grab these last two here real quick and close this out. So another question I get a lot is, what is the secret to getting fast passes for either Flight of Passage or Slinky Dog Coaster? And I say, well, that depends. No,
it depends.
Just kidding.
Okay. Yeah.
There actually are a couple things that may not get you a fast pass, but maybe is the best alternative. So, the best way to get a fast pass for Flight of Passage is to, one, be a resort guest, because you can get those 60 days out. And I've said it here. When you book with me and I mark down your trip arrival date, and I know when that 60 days is, so I'm on the computer at 7 o'clock for fast passes, Eastern Standard Time, ready to go to try to get you those fast passes for the days you were there. Now, it is not guaranteed. It has happened more times than not that I have gone on, and especially if it's a shorter trip, if it's only 1 or 2 days, or sometimes even 3 days, I've had fast passes still not available to get for those attractions, and that confuses people a lot. They're like, "Well, it's 60 days out. Why don't I have it?" What people don't realize is there's the 60 days plus 10 rule, or the 180 days plus 10 rule for the dining plan, for dining reservations. So what this is say my trip starts January 1st. Okay, so 60 days prior to that, I can select fast passes for January 1st. And if I'm staying 10 days, I can do it for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all the way through the 10th. So I get those days way far out. So occasionally what will happen is that when I go to get somebody else's fast passes, the days are the fast passes.
It's already been that
yes.
10 days for someone else.
Yes, the fast passes are gone for that select day because they've already been selected by somebody because they've added them. So it can be a little confusing, but hopefully that made sense.
Well, yeah, I just think about it like we know we're doing like a longer family vacation once a year, that April time I mentioned earlier. And I always try to do those big ones at the end of the trip because I know that today is 60 days out from today, but most people don't have that 60 days from plus, however many days to the end of our trip, 7 or whatever, if it's a week stay. So yeah, if you're doing a longer trip, get them at the end.
Right. So with that being said, do not fear, because there's still a way to get on in a typically shorter fashion. So Flight of Passage and Slinky Dog Coaster currently are probably two of the most sought after fast passes, longest ride wait on any given day at the parks currently. So that can leave really, really long waits. I have actually waited for Flight of Passage a couple months after it came out for 5 hours. Now,
What? But no folding chairs.
no folding chairs. So, but that can be killer to someone's trip. I mean, it doesn't matter to me because we go down all the
you're
time.
a pass holder.
You're a pass holder. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. But if you're down for the first time in like 5 years,
you've just lost an entire day for one ride. So that can be a bummer for sure. So my recommendations to people have figured, it used to be go at rope drop. So like actually show up like an hour before park open. So as soon as the park opens, or if they let people in a little early, you can go straight to the ride. People have figured that out. Surprise, surprise. So you can still end up waiting a long time. In fact, that's what we actually did. When we waited 5 hours, it was still, when we showed up at park open, went and got to the bridge going into Avatar, and that's where the line started.
Stopped. Okay.
Yeah, so
very nice.
Anyway, so my recommendation, and this goes for Slinky Dog too, is to wait later on in the evening. So like right before park close. I hope no cast members are listening to this. I apologize, making your night longer. So when you're getting close to park close, maybe like 15, 20 minutes before park close, get in line. And typically the wait time that is displayed is not the actual wait time that you will experience at that time of night. So I don't know if they intentionally fudge the numbers a little bit to discourage people from getting a line in,
or they just don't do the magical red card toward the end of the night as much, and because then people see that long number and like, oh, the park's closing in less time than that, and it's a deterrent.
Yeah, I rode Flight of Passage one time, and it said an hour and 20 minutes. Excuse me, it said 120 minutes.
20
So
minutes.
it was,
Yikes.
it
2 hours.
said 2 hours, and it wound up being like 55. So
Oh, wow.
much more manageable.
Yeah, I would wait 55 for that any day.
So, but that's our little secret.
Yeah, I don't know anyone.
Oh.
All
Well,
right. The big one.
The big one.
Big question everyone has about Disney World, and you guys just have to stop asking us because we're finally going to tell you. We're dropping all the secrets tonight,
With
all the
certainty.
truth bombs.
With certainty, one of the questions I get a lot is Walt Disney's head actually frozen somewhere in a storage facility? And the answer, I can definitively say, no.
No, like, no.
He was cremated, if I recall. So, but yes, Walt is not
That's just a weird urban
urban legend. I
legend.
don't even know where it started.
I don't know why it started.
So weird.
Yeah, are we gonna put like dead people's frozen heads on like robots in the future?
think I heard-
There's got to be movies warning against that.
I think it started like in the 80s, so I don't know if it was like during the height of like the cryogenic, like the beginnings of the cryoscience or not. But oh yeah, Walt Disney.
It hasn't died. People still actually
People,
think that.
yeah.
So had to throw that one in there. It's not a thing.
So no, not a real thing. So anyway, well, I hope that has answered all of your super important questions for Walt Disney World. But like I said earlier, if you have any questions that we did not cover, please ask us. We'd be more than happy to answer those for you. Find us on Facebook and send us a message. We are the Imagineers Disney Podcast on Facebook. And leave a comment in the comment section if you want to leave it there with your question. As always, you can find our podcast if you have not already subscribed. We are on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And we love doing this every week, and we cannot wait to join you again next week. And actually, the next episode, Susie will not be joining me because I'm going to be recording some stuff down in Walt Disney World with maybe some of my my fellow travel agents. I haven't decided quite what I'm doing
Fine,
yet.
have fun without me.
You can come down and say hello. So.
I work.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I gotta make that money.
Gotta make
I have
that
a mouth
money.
to feed. It's mine.
I was about to say, I'm like, Bowden?
Yeah. Oh, okay, and my dogs.
Yes, her dog's name is Bowden, named after the greatest coach of all time,
Of all time.
Bobby Bowden. Anyway, I digress. So, we'll be recording some stuff in the park, so just have to stay tuned to see what that is. I'm sure it'll be entertaining no matter what. So, we hope that you are having a wonderful 2019 so far, and we will talk to you later. So, until then, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.